Alright, here's a question for you. Why do Americans vote on Tuesday? Is it for some grand patriotic reason? Or maybe we just love making life inconvenient? Well, believe it or not, this unusual tradition dates back to 1800s, when the best way to get people to the polls was a Tuesday in November. Makes sense, right? After all, who doesn't love squeezing in a quick vote between work, school, and picking up the kids? American elections have no shortage of unusual traditions and terms. And today, we're diving into some of the most confusing, and let's be honest, slightly bizarre aspects of it all. From the reason we vote on a random Tuesday to what exactly makes a swing state swing, we're breaking down the strange lingo and customs that make US elections feel like an exclusive club with its own secret language. So if you've ever been baffled by words like Electoral College, primaries, or mail-in ballots, don't worry, you're not alone. Let's untangle this web of election terms, maybe have a laugh or two, and trust me, it only gets straight from here. Ready? Let's go. So, why do Americans vote on a Tuesday in November? Seems random, right? Turns out it all goes back to 1800s when the US was a nation of farmers, horses, and, well, no Netflix. Back then, Sunday was for church and Wednesday was a market day, so Tuesday ended up as the best option for everyone to get into town, cast their vote, and still be back in time to haggle over potatoes the next day. Now, fast forward to today, and this tradition feels about as outdated as, well, voting by horse. Imagine if we updated it, maybe voting on Saturday when people actually do have time. But no, it's Tuesday. Rainy or snowy, work or no work. After all, you work for this long. Why change it now? But voting day traditions are just the start. Wait till we get into the swing states and Electoral College. Alright, let's talk about swing state. You probably heard the term a million times during election season. But what does it actually mean? Think of it like this. If US elections were a high school popularity contest, swing states would be the popular kids everyone wants to impress. They're unpredictable, they don't stick with one party every time, and they can easily tip the balance of the whole election. They're the states that can make candidates sweat. Swing states, also called battleground states, are the ones that flip back and forth between voting Democrat and Republican, depending on the year. That makes them focus all those campaign ads and candidate visits. If you live in one of those states, congrats, your vote gets a lot of attention. And if you don't, well, better luck next time. Now, why are these states so important? It all comes down to the Electoral College, which we'll get to in a bit, where it's not about the total number of votes, but rather which states a candidate wins. So, candidates pour the energy into these swing states, hoping to sway away just enough voters to secure those crucial electoral votes. Think of it as like going in on a game of poker, where the right move can decide everything. Alright, here's where things get interesting. Electoral College sounds fancy, right? You might imagine a group of wise scholars, robes, debating over who should lead the country. But in reality, it's a system that's both simple and confusing, like trying to figure out which candidate to pick. So here's the deal. When Americans vote for president, they're not directly voting for the candidate. Instead, they're voting for a group of people known as electors, who then cast their actual votes for president. It's like placing an order at the restaurant and then hoping the chef actually makes what you ask for. And the kicker? Each state gets a certain number of these electors based on its population size. That's why big states like California have a lot of electoral votes, while smaller states like Wyoming only have a few. But this also means that technically, a candidate can win the popular vote, more people in total voting for them, but still lose the election if they don't win enough of these electoral votes. It's like winning the race, but missing the trophy. Sounds complicated? That's because it is. But it's all part of a unique American election experience. Love it or hate it, the Electoral College has been around for centuries, and it doesn't seem to be going anywhere soon. So, you know how the election season feels like goes on forever? That's partly thanks to these three events: primaries, caucuses, and conventions. Think of them as the long conditions before the big performance, the presidential election. First, we got primaries. In a primary, voters from each state cast their ballots for the candidate they want to see run for president. It's pretty straightforward. According from a menu, you pick one option, and that's that. Then there's caucuses. Now, caucuses are a little bit more, let's say, interactive. Instead of just voting, people gather in groups to discuss and physically stand by the candidate's support. Imagine a giant team building exercise where you try to convince your neighbor to join your side. It's lively, a little chaotic, and sometimes even dramatic. Kind of like a family reunion, but with political stakes. Finally, we got the convention. That's where each party officially picks their nominee based on the primary and caucuses result. Think of it as an ultimate rally, where delegates show up to cheer, make speeches, and get everyone pumped for the big election. It's flashy, it's loud, and yes, sometimes even has controversy, to put it mildly. Alright, let's talk about a few ways Americans vote without actually showing up at the polls on election day. Ever heard of early voting, absentee ballots, or mail-in voting? They're basically the shortcuts for avoiding the long lines, especially on a rainy Tuesday in November. First up is early voting. This one is pretty straightforward. Voters can head to their polling place days or even weeks before election day to cast their ballot. It's like getting your holiday shopping done early so you can skip the chaos. Early voters don't wait until the last minute, and they don't have to worry about missing out if something comes up. Then we have absentee ballots. This is designed for people who can't physically make it to the polls. Like if you're traveling or living abroad, you just request a ballot in advance, fill it out, and send it back. Simple and to the point. And finally, mail-in voting. It's similar to absentee voting, but here any eligible voter can cast a ballot by mail without needing a specific reason. Picture it like sending a postcard with your choice for president on. Convenient? Definitely. But it's also a process that stirred up a lot of debates about security and reliability just to keep things interesting. Alright, we talk about the lead up, the primaries, the caucuses, and all the ways people can vote, but it all comes down to election day, the main event, the big finale. Picture like being the Super Bowl, but instead of touchdowns, we're counting the ballots. On election day, Americans across the country head to their local polling places, cast their ballots, and wait for the results to start rolling in. It's a long day, with news anchors practically glued to their screens, commentators making predictions, and everyone holding their breath as each state's results are announced. And then there's the part we all know too well. Sometimes it's a nail-biter that goes late into the night, or even a few days after. If things get really close, it could be weeks before the final count is certified. It's the one day where democracy makes its way, and let's be honest, no one really has the patience for it. So, election day is over. Ballots are counted, or mostly counted, and we have a winner, do we? Just when you think the whole process is done, there's a bit more to it. Welcome to the aftermath. Phase where things still need to be officially wrapped up. First up, the Electoral College meets to formally cast their votes based on how their states voted. Remember them? Those electors we talked about earlier actually get together in December to make it all official. It's like you think you're done, but actually not quite there yet. And even after that, there is the inauguration, where the winner officially takes office in January. So while election day may be the grand finale for voters, the show doesn't completely end until January, when the winner finally takes the oath and moves into the White House. There you have it. The American election process, from the strange tradition of voting on Tuesday to nail-biting suspense of election day and beyond. It's a long, winding journey full of rules, terms, and traditions that don't always make sense, but that's what makes it uniquely American. If you learned something new or just enjoyed the ride, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into American culture, history, and those little quirks that make this country one of a kind. Got any election terms that still have you scratching your head? Drop them in the comments. I love to help demystify more of this election lingo, or at least try. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.